Okay, so this is our landing page. It was designed by Omar at the hackathon, and it's been like growing ever since. We've added a lot of things. So I think we should start by just explaining what the product does. Does anyone want to start with that, or should I go ahead?
Yeah. Talk about from the beginning.
Okay. So at the actual hackathon, it wasn't until like about 3 a.m. on the first day that we decided what we wanted to do. We had like two main competing ideas, and me and Siron, like, we were like debating, like political opponents. Like, we were going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for a while. And eventually it kind of like turned into just, okay, the moorcheh track is really cool. I say we go with this, and like we really build it out because they have a cool product. And obviously, like, we're gonna build something amazing, like if we just focus on this one track, right? So yeah, the idea was like a lot of us like have done internships or like we're incoming interns, and interns have a lot of questions when they onboard to a company, right? And senior engineers have a lot of answers, but they don't have a lot of time to answer those questions, right? So if we can build some kind of pipeline for context or like information across a company, that would save everyone a lot of time. It would give everyone a lot of productivity, and it would give a lot of money to the company that brings in this tool, right? So what we do is we track strategies, engineering strategies. We track Slack messages and Jira tickets and GitHub pull requests, and basically every little thing that happens within a company. So the idea is if a senior developer is, say, like picked up by Google or something and they're leaving the company, then obviously they have a lot of context in their mind that's leaving the company with them, right? It would be really cool if we can keep that context within the company and give that back to interns. It would be cool if we can have like a mirror image of every single senior engineer and their knowledge in the company and share it with everyone, right? Just in terms of communication, just in terms of what that gives you back in terms of time. In our demo, what we actually had, like to kind of like pitch this sentiment, is we had Omar pretending to be an intern, and he's stuck alone at the office at like 11 p.m. after everyone's gone home, and he has no one to ask these questions to. He's like, okay, dude, why are we using Supabase instead of AWS? Why are we using this instead of this? How do I do that? How do I do this, right? So we're answering that for him. Initially, what we had is kind of like a Tavis avatar, which is like an AI, like human being speaking to you, designed after the look of the senior engineer. So it's literally like a clone of them, and you're asking them questions, right? So that's what Omniate is. But in the final product, we moved away from that avatar kind of person, and we have like this cool ring that speaks to you instead. So essentially, it keeps track of everything that's going on in your organization. It uses moorcheh's efficient memory and different namespaces communicating with each other in order to communicate that information between interns, between senior engineers. And it's kind of like general intelligence for your entire enterprise. So that was our idea. I'm not sure like how similar that is to your guys' enterprise innovations right now, but that's where we are right now. You can see like this right now. If you have a question, for example, like it would pull things from GitHub, it would pull things from Jira, and it would reply to the user. But yeah, if anyone else wants to chime in, like I can keep on navigating the website because I've been speaking for a minute.
Yeah, I can explain a little bit about the high level flow of what we built and like why moorcheh was the best solution for building this out. So first of all, like in order to pull in all of the data and stuff, we use an API call of Unified. And then what we actually ended up doing was we used the namespaces and we got the namespaces to communicate with each other. We know that namespaces are technically supposed to be isolated, but we had one namespace for the specific users and one namespace for the entire company. This entire company's namespace was supposed to be like the symbiote that lived there. This user's namespace was supposed to be collected whenever a person would onboard the company, give their resume, all of that stuff. And whenever they would start building new good habits, or like, let's say they're putting their Git commits in a certain way, and that would be beneficial to the whole company, what we built was those specific habits would be spread out through the entire company. And those specific things would be spread into the company's namespace rather than the person's namespace. That was a really innovative thing that we built on top of that. I think Saron would be best to talk about the next steps after that.
Yeah, so when we were kind of building this project out, before we went to moorcheh, we kind of just searched for the best ways to organize your database. One thing that drew me into moorcheh is how you guys organize your data, because you use ITS rather than the traditional vector database. And one of the big benefits of that is you're not querying through all your data at one time, you're going through sections of it. right? So this is going to be a much more organized way of doing it. So when we were looking at that, the next question we had is, if we're going from a company namespace to an employee namespace, how are we going to migrate the data? How are we going to go from one namespace to the other? How do we pick which data is valuable enough, which data we don't want to include? And so to do that, what we did is we used the Redis caching system as a short-term memory. And if there is a memory that continuously pops up, or we notice good habits, which will benefit the company's workflow, then we would put that into our threshold gain and see how this is comparing to our thresholds. So once we figure that out, then we go, okay, from the employee namespace, let's migrate to the company namespace, so that now we're tracking all the employee habits as a company habit. This way we can kind of remember how a company works, as well as how different employees work, and we can really get into what things we want to keep for the future and what things we want to forget.
Awesome.
I can hand it over to Omar if you want to add anything else.
Yeah. So ever since the hackathon, we've been continuing to build this out because, you know, we have a great team here and we have a great project. So it's worth continuing and looking more into it. And the idea is, once you connect all of these tools together, once you have, you know, every employee's tools that they use, you have a lot of information. And the things that you can do with the information, it's an endless, endless opportunities. And so we've been looking into how we could host this, for a company that wants, security, fully on-premises infrastructure, local AI models, everything local, or other solutions like cloud solutions as well. And once again, with the information that you have, you know, as soon as someone, let's say, pushes a GitHub a commit, if there's an issue with that, the AI will be able to flag it. So it will be a proactive AI, not reactive. So you don't have to ask it certain questions for it to bring things to your attention. If it finds something, it knows all of this information about what team does what. And so it would just be able to tell the team, oh, we found this. Yeah, it's been
great. I have some feedback on this. This is amazing. This is the first time I've seen the whole idea with your explanation and details. So I'm very impressed. This is, first of all, kudos to you guys. Great job. And from my own personal experience, this is a very big pain point in large companies. I've worked in a company that has like 15,000 employees, 20,000 employees. And if you wanted to get things done, you had to know someone who knew about the specific database or any specific like knowledge that you were looking for. So this unlocks a lot of like knowledge that is spread across several people, but you bring it back to a central place where everyone can use it. It's a great product and a great idea that addresses a real pain point. And then I want to congratulate you on the smart way of leveraging what moorcheh offers. The first one is you're leveraging the namespace management. Because moorcheh comes with kind of unlimited number of namespaces, and once you spread your data and you can control the access through the auth layer very rigorously, so there's no leakage between like employees if you want to keep it separate. And then if you want to share it across the company, you also pass it through a filter. And the second thing you leverage was the ITS relevance, because it's a kind of a universal relevance. You can rely on a certain hard-coded thresholds to filter out like things that are irrelevant or repetitive, so to make it more intelligent decisions about what data gets saved where and served when. And yeah, I think you had a question of how it compares to ours. So moorcheh is just a backend layer. It just supports you. And these are the kind of applications that really fits to be working on top of moorcheh. And the third thing that makes it different is also, you mentioned, as soon as you upload something, as soon as you bring in new information, it's accessible right away. There's no delay, there's no re-indexing, there's no indexing, and there's no need for managing the clusters or the cloud resources. And I would say the last one is, which is very important, is obviously the security, privacy of data, which is the critical point. And for enterprises, they can have the entire backend on a private VPC cloud or on-prem or on GCP. And this deployed in 10 minutes. Like moorcheh deploys as a infrastructure as code and deploys in 10 minutes. And I think then your enterprise would come in as a topper layer and get connected to all these multiple channels, right? To bring in the information, to onboard the new employees, and then to keep everything live. Like the data keeps being live and answers questions. And probably the last one is it's really built for scale, because let's say if you have hundreds or thousands of employees, it continuously data is flowing in at a high pace, and there will be hundreds of thousands of questions coming in. So moorcheh is ready to take that on and to really scale without breaking the bank, without again causing too much overhead on the backend side. So yeah, those were my points on Omniate, right? Is it correct? Omniate?
Yeah, Omniate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Omni meaning like everything is where it like
Right,
stands for.
right. And it eats everything.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah, we'll keep that in mind for the tag.
Okay,
I
very
just wanted to
good.
quick, like, I really appreciate everything you're saying, and like I think it really supports that we are the team to be building this. Like when you're talking about like the security, this was like discussed like in a meeting a few weeks ago, like right after the hackathon. Omar is kind of like our security guy, and he was talking about, okay, we have a few different options to do this, guys. It would be really cool if we can host the entire thing, like in the company's entire infrastructure in terms of privacy. But if you want to scale it up, this is the way to do it. In terms of the namespaces, that infrastructure, like Vaid was like really cooking up at the hackathon. Like he thought of that whole thing, and he thought, okay, we could really stand out if we do this, but like we need to use this like feature of moorcheh because that's something that they have that differentiates them, so we can use it to differentiate our product, right? And Xeron did like so much of the backend for the ITS and like the relevancy, and yeah, like I really think like we are the team to be building this, and everything you've said like really resonates with us.
Awesome.
Very cool. I also want to lost you guys for a second. Yeah, kudos to you guys. This is great. This is a really big pain point for sure. Do you guys have users, or have you launched it, or are you planning to launch?
So we actually do have a few startups that we're going to be hosting this with. They've expressed interest. We haven't like fully launched it yet because we're just not at that stage. But we're building this customizable for like a few YC startups right now, and then we'll think about scaling and then fundraising and things like that moving forward.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say, if you need moorcheh credits or even the enterprise version to deploy, we fully support you. Like you can have like deployment on a VPC for an enterprise, so they own the entire architecture of moorcheh, and then have Omniate installed for them. So you don't need to go to the public SaaS cloud. And the advantage is that actually the enterprise version is a lot more advanced. You can ingest documents that are like images, graphs, even videos natively on the enterprise.
Yeah, we were actually discussing this amongst ourselves as well before this, that like building this as a feature on top of moorcheh, or like because it's such a core, I think that would be like very strong as well. If we worked with moorcheh.ai, or like we built on top of it as a feature for edge AI innovations, I think that would be much stronger than like us doing our own thing totally. So I definitely agree with what you're saying as well.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no,
And it
that,
would be also an easier package for companies who want to adopt it, instead of having many like different vendors and different stacks. You're just dealing with one stack that has everything in it. Right?
mhm.
I think one thing for us is we're using moorcheh.ai to build this out, and we know that Edge AI is like the parent company of moorcheh. So one thing we were kind of looking at is, okay, if we're going to build this out and if we're going to take this into a real company, what is the best way to do this?
Mhm.
And like throughout our past conversations, we've been kind of talking about if Edge AI Innovations kind of took this as a subsidiary for the main reason, as Omniate, we're trying to create a partnered company of moorcheh. We're
Mhm.
not building something to replace moorcheh. We're building a product of moorcheh,
Mhm.
right? So for that reason, we've been kind of talking about it, seeing what the best way to get out there with our product is, how we can
Mhm.
build this out. And if that is something that Edge AI and moorcheh is interested
Mhm.
in, then we would love to do that.
Oh yeah, we can also support your GTM, go to market, and also awareness for enterprise level customers. So
Mhm.
for sure, we're open to it. We can discuss it later, another meeting.
Yeah. So moorcheh, if you check with our partners like Llama Index, Ingestion, or for example, N8End, right? If you go to their website, moorcheh is in their vector store, right? That's how we position ourselves, right? So companies that are working with workflow automation or agentic workflow, they also
Mhm.
need a infrastructure like a vector search, right? And when moorcheh memory comes in, memory for agentic workflow, that's how I would position that. But in terms of like, definitely once you guys get attraction, right? Like you present this and you see a lot of interest, we can support you in terms of, let's say you want to run a pilot for your user, right? We can provide you, as Majid said, with extra credits or even pilot environment, right? Enterprise pilot environment, because that requires a lot of resources, and it might take some time, right? So we can definitely support you on that.
Yeah. So I suggest we stop the recording.
Yes, let's stop it
To
right
keep
now.
it also not too long for the
Yeah.
audience. Okay.